Welcome to another edition of the Social Proof Podcast, man. Oh my gosh. I just want to get into this because I am a podcaster and this man has put money in my pockets.
Still putting money in your pocket.
Still putting money in my pockets.
Consistently.
Consistently putting money in my pocket. I'm actually bringing the plug to y'all, which, you know what I mean? Like, people don't bring the plug. Right. But Gary, this has been an exciting journey as a content creator. One, people create because it's exciting to create. The other side is I'm excited to create because I understand the financial opportunity in what we're doing. And that's why you're here. So go ahead and introduce yourself to my friends.
My man. Thanks for having me. My name is Gary Coichy. I'm the founder and CEO of Pod Digital Media. We are the first and the largest multicultural podcast network in the country. So what I've done is my background is in media and advertising. I spent about a total of 18 years working for the large advertising agencies from Omnicom, OMD, PhD, WPP, MediaCom, Mindshare, the large media agencies that actually purchases media for the Fortune 500 companies. That's my background. After spending a lot of time at those agencies and also on the brand side, 2017, I realized that as content creators were creating podcast content, I realized that there was an opportunity to actually bridge the gap between those content creators and those blue chip advertisers that I was representing for so many years. So I went ahead and launched the first and the largest multicultural podcast network as an aggregator, aggregating all of the top podcasters around the country, i.e. you, right? That's creating great content and ensuring that advertisers, when they're looking to reach a multicultural segment, African Americans, Hispanics, Asians, LGBTQ communities, audiences within the podcast ecosystem, that they can tap into us.
Gotcha.
So that's what I do.
So in a nutshell, you find the people who have money and you take that money to creators.
Precisely.
How'd you even get into that business model?
I mean, it's again, influencer marketing. You know, I felt like I missed the boat because I was on the agency side. I felt like I missed the boat. I'm from New York, right? So knowing so many influencers, current athletes, former athletes that live in New York, and they're always looking for deals, right? How can they get brand deals? And I felt like I missed the boat on the influencer piece with social media. So I said, hey, but podcasting is the next thing. Mm-hmm. So one of the reasons why, I win at life, I'm very curious. I always want to know what's next. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at things now, but I'm like, what is next? What's coming? What is the next thing that's going to pop? What's coming up next? And that's what I did with the podcasting space in terms of understanding that it was emerging as the new medium, simply because on the media side, where I'm buying media from Google, Facebook, NBC, all of the top sort of platforms, publishers you can think of, and everything looked alike. But I'm saying, what is next? And then podcast was the next best thing. So once I realized that, and I also realized the low barrier of entry with podcasting, because all you really need is a mic and a camera.
For sure.
And in your living room with your best friend, and you guys can actually have real authentic conversations. And if you remain consistent, then you're actually building an audience, and boom, before you know it, you actually have a platform, right? So once I saw that, I was like, this will be certainly the next best thing. How can I be a part of that? And what role can I play into it? And when I did my due diligence, I called Spotify, Podcast One, Pandora, and all those companies. And I said, look, I'm looking for Black content creators, a place where, as an advertiser, if I'm an advertiser, I want to tap into to reach the African American communities, the Hispanic communities within the podcast space. It didn't exist in 2017. And that's when I said, you know what? If it doesn't exist, and I actually have access to both content creators and advertisers, who's the best person to do it? And that's when I went ahead and launched it.
Okay. So you were in advertising, so you built the relationships with the people who are spending money to advertise.
For sure. And also, the thing is, for me, I also worked on the brand side, right? So I was a marketer. I'm actually a marketer by trade. I went to school for international business and marketing. So I understand I was a marketer by trade. So I worked on the brand side first, and I went on the agency side. So I can think like a marketer, right, that has to hire an agency, and I can also think like an agency person that has to work with a marketer, right? So if you're an agency person, if you're a marketer, you're looking for a way to sell your product. How can I sell my products and get the most efficient way and get the highest return on investment? So let me hire an agency to actually help me find different mediums to actually advertise where I can actually run my campaigns and then go ahead and making sure that I'm getting the highest return on my investments based on my media dollars, based on my budgets, right? So then now also on the flip side, as an agency person working with marketers, you're always looking for innovative ways and efficient ways to help your clients promote their brands and their products. So I think with both heads. So that's like a unique skill set. That's very rare because I'm both a brand marketer. I'm also an agency person. So I'm always looking for ways to sort of, hey, how can I ensure that I'm selling I can help my brand partner the best platform so they can actually sell their products. So which means now I'm always looking for new mediums and new channels to make that happen. So that's basically how I was curious to actually understand that podcasting is actually the next emerging platform, the next medium that's actually gonna take over.
That's what I've been telling people, bro. Podcasting, like you don't need permission from anybody.
You don't.
Those
Absolutely
other
don't.
platforms like radio, TV, you need permission for somebody to say this person's talented enough to get on this platform. But podcasting, it doesn't work like that.
Fortunately, unfortunately, everybody can be a publisher now, right? With social media. Right, or you simply need
and unfortunately.
Correct.
Why do you say that?
Because there's a lot of podcast bros, right? There's a lot of people that they're just creating content for sound bites and giving out the wrong information. But they're giving out the wrong information because they're able to create a platform because it's easy to create a platform and go ahead and start talking about whatever you want to talk about. So that's the unfortunate part. But the fortunate part is that if you actually have real things to say, you have valuable information to share out with your community, you can also go ahead and create that content without any permission, like you're saying, right?
100%.
So, yeah. So for me, it's like I take my role very seriously, which is why I don't do a lot of interviews, and just simply because, look, a lot of people are sharing a lot of wrong information, and I want my community, my role, my purpose in life currently right now is to ensure that I'm educating my community so that I can actually understand the process and the things that they're doing and how can they do it right, and how can they ensure that they're doing it not in the short term, but and create it with longevity. Right. So to me, that's a role I take that's very important, which is why we have conversations. You've called me and we've chatted for 15, 20 minutes. Look, man, this is what I'm trying to do. How do I do it? This, that, or third. And I salute you for being humble all the time to say, hey, look, this is what I'm doing. Gary, just help me. And I have no problem doing it. Right. I don't create courses. I love you. You have courses. That's just not my lane. I'm willing to give that information out for free at no cost, as long as I'm making sure that it's gonna service, it's gonna the right purpose.
Here's my perspective on the free flowing ability for people to create content. I don't know if there's a right or wrong information. It's just information. So somebody might say I might say the best. I'm saying you should just quit your job and live your dream. Right. Now, from my perspective, I might say, well, that's the wrong information. You shouldn't tell nobody that.
Right.
However, there are some people from experience, they just quit their job and made something amazing.
That's me.
Which I'm excited about, our ability to have the freedom of speech. And if you take away one podcast, you got to take away them all, right? Because now I don't have an opportunity to express myself. And the people who build large audiences off of information we don't necessarily like just shows that there's an audience of people who like that particular information.
For sure. No, I mean, you're right. For sure. I think it's at the end of it, it's consistency, right?
Yeah.
If you're consistent at anything that you're doing, you're going to build an audience.
For sure.
Which is why, for me, as a lot of people are entering the podcast, they're like, it's so saturated. Should I create a podcast? Should I not create a podcast? If you're serious about it, you're going to be consistent. And then from there, you're actually going to build an audience.
For sure.
So the other people that, again, that point, if you're consistent, you keep yelling, someone at some point, someone's gonna listen to you.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Yeah, right. So I think so, but because you're consistent at creating the wrong information, doesn't make it right.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
So
I want to help some people today on how we can understand the sponsorship space, right?
Right.
But the first time, shouts out to Steve Canal. I think I got connected from Steve.
Yeah, Steve's my guy. Steve's one of my favorite
Shouts out
entrepreneurs,
Steve
man.
Canal.
Steve's my guy. Steve, One Venture Group.
Yeah.
Steve coined the term corporatepreneur. He was an executive, I think, at Miller Coors at the time. And he's like, yeah, I'm an executive here, but I'm really an entrepreneur, but I'm a corporate guy. So he coined the term corporatepreneur.
Yeah, for sure.
But now he's a full-on blown entrepreneur.
yeah.
But Steve's my guy.
Steve's
We grew up
the man.
together. That's my dog. Shout out to Steve.
So my introduction to you was, I think you might have sent me an article where you had like $1 million deal with McDonald's years ago.
Yes, we got that in 2020, 2021. Yes.
So and you can clear this up.
For sure.
McDonald's gives your company $1 million to distribute through podcasts?
It's not $1 million, no. It's what it is. It's a multi-year, multi-million-dollar endeavor, right? It's a multi-year, multi-million-dollar endeavor. So what we do is we are the premier podcast partner for McDonald's to help them reach African Americans and Hispanics within the podcast.
Hold on, Gary.
All right.
It's a multi-year, multi-million-dollar endeavor.
Right.
So over a few years.
Right. So the first year, sorry to cut you off, it was a 3-year from 2020 to 2023. That deal ended last year, December of 2023, and we renewed it again. It performed extremely well for McDonald's, so we renewed the deal again for another 2 years.
How are they tracking that more black people are going to McDonald's now?
I mean, it's all the insights and the data, right? So we work with McDonald's. There's a company called Placed. So the campaigns are all tagged. And they also have a media marketing mix where they're actually understanding from TV, radio, out of home, what's really moving the needle, and they're sort of really able to get that intel, understand how podcasting has impacted their overall audiences.
Gotcha.
So
and how did you get that deal?
I got that deal through the agency Burrell Communications, which is out of Chicago, right? Out of Chicago, we were doing a lot of work with Burrell, and Burrell said, "Look, McDonald's is looking to partner with more, black-owned media entities, and you're in a unique position simply because you're the premier and the largest multicultural podcast network, and they want to do more within audio." And we kicked up the conversations. But the funny story about that too, for me, it's a full circle moment because my first job was McDonald's. I worked at McDonald's, flipping fries. And I told them that during the pitch too. I shared that information during the pitch. And one interesting fact is, I think it's 1 out of 8. Tariq, the CMO, I think it's 1 out of 8 people I've worked at McDonald's. So like 1 out of, I don't want to say the wrong fact, but there's always 1 out of 8 people that worked at McDonald's. That's a interesting fact. They're always promoting that, and I was one of those people. So I worked at McDonald's. So I mentioned that during my first pitch at McDonald's, and I told them about I was 17, and I felt cool the first time they gave me the headset to work on the drive-through. So. But yeah, man. So the McDonald's deal is certainly one I'm certainly proud of. Building Pod Media, knowing that we wanted to build it to work with those like large companies, and for McDonald's to actually have at the time, we were still a we're much bigger now, but at the time like McDonald's has sort of that investment, that multi-million-dollar investment and endeavor and partnership has allowed us to grow and scale and sort of build our entire infrastructure.
Wow.
So it's a life-changing moment for sure.
Gotcha. So you get this deal with McDonald's.
Right.
And my question is, out of the money that you get from McDonald's, and I'm asking this from an agency standpoint, somebody might be wanting to build out an agency.
Right.
How do you structure what you get based on versus what you have to distribute to the podcast?
So let's take it to the basics, right? You get paid based on your numbers. It's a CPM model, right? That's how media works, right? So if you're monetizing your podcast, you can either get paid out of a CPM or you can get a flat sponsorship rate. So at the end of the day, my job is to ensure that I have enough podcasters based on the desired audience McDonald's is looking to reach. I have enough content creators that have the reach and scale so that I can ensure that, if your podcast has 200,000 listeners on a weekly basis. My podcast has 20,000 listeners on a weekly basis. The rate that you get and the rate that I get are completely different because you have a larger audience than I do, right?
The rate changes based off
the audience numbers. Audience numbers.
It seems like they would say, and this is what I thought. All right, well, we are going to pay $25 per CPM, and we can explain this.
And the
to
CPM is a cost per thousand. So
Cost
every
per
thousand
thousand,
person, every thousand person is a 25. It's 25. I'm paying 25,000.
Right.
$25 for it. Yes.
But you're saying if you have more 1,000 persons,
Right.
it goes from 25 to a 30 because you have more?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Right, so it's
it
the same
can still
amount.
remain $25.
Yes, you just get more.
However, but since you have your audience numbers are much larger, so you get more dollars than I will get. So if you get 200,000 people that listen to you on a weekly basis, I have 20,000. 20,000 divided by 1,000 multiplied by 25, whatever that rate is.
Correct.
Versus you has 200,000.
So the amount changes, not the rate doesn't change. The amount changes.
The
because
amount
you have
changes
more people to
precisely.
Get in front of.
However, on our end too, how we also price it out is that now if we're giving you more, right? There's 30 seconds pre-roll, there's 60 seconds mid-roll, there's 15 seconds post-roll, right? If I'm giving you a higher share of voice within the podcast as an advertiser, I'm a content creator, right? Let's say I'm David Chan's Social Proof, right? And now American Express, they want a higher share of voice within my podcast. They want a pre-roll. Hey, today's episode is sponsored by American Express.
Yeah.
And then mid-roll is, look, I'm heading to Italy, to Cannes Lions, south of France. I'm using my American Express. That becomes part of a custom segment within the podcast. The 60 seconds added within the podcast. And when the podcast ends is, today's show was sponsored by American Express. So American Express essentially has 3 spots within the podcast, right? So then now what I can do is I can increase the CPM based on the fact that I'm giving them a higher share of voice within the podcast. So then now the rate changes completely because now it's no longer about the $25 CPM. Now I can charge $30 to $45 CPM because now it's a higher share of voice. The client, the advertiser, American Express now has a pre-roll, a mid-roll, and a post-roll. So then now you can increase the CPM regardless of.
They're getting a discount.
They're not getting a discount. How? Because you're increasing the CPM. The number is much higher now.
Let me ask this. One person hears all 3 of these ads. Is American Express paying the one rate for that one person?
No, you're increasing the rate, which is why it's a higher CPM, which is why this is when now you can flip it from a $25 CPM to a $40 to $45 CPM.
Because that one person might hear it 3 times.
Precisely,
and you're saying,
but that's brand resonance now. That's brand resonance because they're hearing it over and over again. Repetition builds reputation.
Got it.
Right? So then now, as a brand, if you're looking to build that reputation via repetition within my podcast, you got to pay a higher premium for it.
I see.
Regardless of what my numbers are.
I got it.
Yeah.
It seems, though, I'm just a math guy.
Right.
Let's say, for instance, I have pre-roll, mid-roll, end-roll, meaning beginning of the podcast, middle of the podcast, end of the podcast.
Right.
Let's say, for instance, I have these 3 slots. American Express, in that example, they would pay $35 per CPM, right?
Right.
When I could
Even
sell
if
to 3 different companies,
right,
and I make $75. Because you give me 25 for that listener, you give me 25, the other person gives me 25.
Right.
That I would make 75 in that regard.
Correct. Or you can still get those other advertisers also too.
Let's get them all.
Right. Why not? Like, let's get them all. But you're just going to give priority to the person that's paying you for 3 spots.
Got it.
Right? But you can still, so my rule of thumb is you can have upwards of 4 to 6 ads within the podcast, especially if it's between 30 to 45 minutes.
Yeah.
You don't want it to become an infomercial because then it doesn't work. Apologies. Sorry for cursing. But, you don't want it to become an infomercial, but you want it to certainly be very organic and make sure the ads are seamlessly injected as part of your conversations that you're having with your audience.
Got it.
So you can certainly ensure that, you have 4 to 6 ads, but just know that one of the advertisers is just going to have premium placements with a pre-roll, a mid-roll, and a post-roll.
Got you. There is a podcaster that's starting out right now.
Right.
Okay? They ain't got a whole lot going on.
Right.
Can they just not get advertising at all?
They can. They certainly can get advertising. Just understand that the rate is going to be extremely low but you have to start somewhere, right? So therefore, what we do is we need to understand, for us is, I've been in this space for a total of 7 years now. I've seen it all, right? From T1 celebrities, from like large agencies that have entered the space. A lot of networks have failed. I mean, I don't want to call them out, but a lot of like big names have entered the space and they've quickly exited stage left, just because it's not as easy as everybody think it is, because it's a lot of work, and you can relate, you can understand that, right? Sure. So on our end, for us,
ankles, my boy. Go on and get right. I can't have you ever bad, because I'll be bad too.
Can
My
you see
situation
it?
a
Can you
little
actually
bit.
see it?
My joints be crazy. If I wear long pants, I don't wear lotion in the morning. So
man,
all I thought on was I ain't gonna have you out here bad.
Don't record it. It's not gonna show, right? It's not gonna show in film.
You're good.
All right, cool.
Hey man, these are my friends. So
But yeah, no. So I'm sorry. Let me. It's gonna be a long-winded answer, but I want to make sure I answer you correctly, because I get this asked. Everyone reaches out to me a lot, right? So you have to be consistent. So we're not gonna, invest in you if you only come into this space just to think you're gonna make a lot of money, because you have to build the audience first, and then the money will come, right? So on our end is, if you're just starting out for podcasts, like, we need to understand like what's your creative count, what's your content calendar looks like. What's your cadence? Is it a weekly podcast, a bi-weekly podcast, once a month podcast? Is this just a series of 12 episodes and then season 1 ends and then you're gonna start season 2 6 months from now? Like, we need to understand all of that. You can certainly get, you can certainly get advertisers, but we need to understand like who's your audience, who's listening to you. Right? So if you're creating a podcast about current events, what's happening in the news, and you're just starting out, who's going to listen to you? Because there's a million of those podcasts that currently exist. However, let's say you're a physician, right? You're a doctor that's creating podcast content about health and wellness to actually educate your audience. If you actually get 1,000 people to listen to you, those 1,000 people are actually really qualified audience, simply because you're giving them valuable information that's very different than what's currently out there. And we'll still work with you. We'll just agree on what that flat rate looks like. CPM doesn't make sense for you because you don't have listeners in the thousands. Yeah. So we'll simply have to understand what that looks like in terms of what the flat rate would look like, and we'll start getting some advertisers to at least pay for your production. And as you continue to grow and scale your audiences, the rate will change. Oh,
so because it's more targeted, that audience is more valuable because it's not casual listeners. They're like very intentional about listening to this person.
Precisely. So like, if you're like a healthcare provider, and then you also have other healthcare providers that listen to you, so then now a Merck or Novartis or Pfizer can actually advertise within your podcast, because they also know that if they're still promoting their drugs and you have other healthcare providers that listen to you, it's a viable audience. So they're actually willing to pay a premium CPM for it. Forget the amount they don't need listeners in the thousands. They just need the right listener.
Oh,
so that changes.
That's good.
So that changes the landscape.
Gotcha.
So for us, when we're evaluating the type of podcast we want to work with, relationship podcasts, there's a thousands of those. Like, we need something different that's unique. We need different type of shows that's going to bring a different flavor to the medium. So we don't turn those away if you have a large audience base, cool. But if you're just starting out and this is the direction you're going into, we're not as like excited to say, hey, let's go ahead and work with you.
Bro.
Financial literacy, entrepreneurship, like we need more of that.
Gary, I promise you are echoing the stuff I've been telling people for the longest. There's a lot of things you can do with $500. I mean, you can have a night out with your significant other. You could buy some really expensive shoes. Well, really nice shoes are about double $500. You could buy a course where you can learn something for $500. But I have something better for you to do with the $500. I want to meet with you every single morning for the rest of your life. Well, maybe not the rest of your life, but every morning, Monday through Friday, for the rest of the year. I have information and game that have allowed me to build a successful business, a successful community, and a successful life all the way around. But I want to share that with you. But the only way we can accomplish this is not me selling you a course, not me giving you a one-on-one consultation, because even with that, you'll get the information, but you'll need more. I want to meet with you every single morning. Now, would I meet with someone every morning for $500 for a year? And the answer is yes. Actually, we've been doing this thing since 2017. We have what's called the morning meetup. Every single month, we have a theme, whether it's social media, whether it's motivation, whether it's strategy, whatever it is, we have a theme for the month. And every morning in that month, we have a conversation around that topic. And I am giving a wealth of knowledge, not only myself, but a lot of friends, a lot of people that you see on this podcast. They join every single week. So you need a community of people that you can grow with, and you need a coach. I'm your coach. The Morning Meetup is your community. Go to themorningmeetup.com. It's $499, and I will meet you every single morning for an entire year. Give it a shot. I was on a live yesterday, and I was telling people, bruh, actually what we're doing right now, I don't recommend somebody doing this. I already have an audience. People like what we do in terms of like sitting down, getting someone's story.
Right.
But like even I'm like fading out of this because I'm going more hot seat because I'm like direct coaching beginning stage entrepreneurs, right?
Right.
So like I think people even look at a podcast as what we're doing, but there's a million ways to produce a podcast.
1,000%.
What's one of the most unique podcasts that you saw that are doing well?
Oof, that's a great question. That is a great question. There's a new podcast called Caviar and Wings. I'm very excited about it.
Caviar
and Wings. Caviar and wings. But the wings it's a play on the word wings, which should be chicken wings, but the wings is more like airplane wings. It's a travel podcast. There is not a lot of travel podcasts simply because the traveling industry is very visual. So the audio piece don't always resonate because people want to see it. I want to see how Capri looks. I don't want to hear somebody tell me I can eat good pasta in Capri. I want to actually see the pasta, and I actually want to see Capri. So traveling podcasts don't typically do well, right? Just because it has to be more visual. And I think this podcast actually has legs just simply because the way they're creating it. Shots to Sahar, the way they're creating it, ensuring that there's a visual component to it. Not just watching two people talk about the traveling experiences, but they're actually showing what Capri looks like, what Paris looks like, what Dubai looks like. So they're actually sharing that. So to me, that's unique and that's different.
Are they going to the places?
They are. And they're recording live from those different locations.
That gotta be expensive. Unless you got an advertiser.
All you need is one advertiser.
Are you involved with this podcast?
100%. No, we're representing them. They're one of our podcasts that we represent.
And they're just getting started.
They're just getting started. But they're going to do extremely well simply because it's very different. So in American Express would love to be a part of that.
Hold on.
Right.
They would love to be a part of it from the beginning or when it grows?
From the beginning, just because it's very different, right? The thing is, while we're teaching brands, right? My role is extremely unique because I have to teach the content creators what it takes to get the advertisers, but I also have to teach the advertisers what it takes to team up with the right content creators, right? So which is why, podcasters look at us as an agency because we're brokering deals on their behalf, and advertisers look at us as a network because this is a centralized location where they can reach this audience that they're looking, this hard to reach audience that they're trying to tap into. Right. So on our end is we're teaching brands to be to create a move, to be part of a movement versus being part of a moment.
Got it.
Right. So then now, if that's the case, we need the podcasters, the content creators to also understand what that looks like. So when the brand wants to be part of that movement, they actually have the place to be part of that movement, which is why consistency to me means everything from a podcast and content creator perspective.
Got it. Yo, first off, quick commercial. Gary will be at Podcast Summit 2024, July 4th and 5th. Go to podcastsummit.com.
Facts.
Gary, there's going to be a lot of creators that have a lot of questions on how to get sponsorships. And to be represented, we want to make money, man.
No, I understand that. But listen, man, you can't enter the space with the mindset I have to create money. I have to make money ASAP. Sure. I do want content creators to enter the space and being very intentional about making money. However, before you get to it, before you actually get the big sponsors, who are you actually catering to?
Yeah.
Who is your audience? Who are you speaking to? Is it the 18 to 25 audience? Is it 25 to 35? Is it 35 to 45? Understand your swimming lanes and stay in it.
Yeah.
Right? So for us is when everyone's like, hey, I want to make money, I want to get big sponsors, but like, I don't know, do you even know who your audience is? Do you actually, I've been taking the time to look at your insight, to understand who's listening to you, which pieces of content actually have the virality component, which soundbite worked for you? Like I need you to understand to have those insights. Yeah. And I've been doing this so long where within the first 5 minutes of a conversation, I can understand if somebody's wasting my time or if they're actually really interested in what it is that they're creating and they're doing, right? Mm-hmm. So the truth is in the details. So understand the details, do it well. Yeah. Create quality content, but also dive into your insight to say, okay, look, I'm trying to create content for the 18 to 25 audience, but for some reason, people that are 35 and up just loves what I'm doing. You know what? Then that's who my audience is, and that's what I need to cater to, right? Why should McDonald's advertise on your podcast? Right. Why should I give you McDonald's as an advertiser? Mm-hmm. If most of your audience is all about health and wellness, right? They're like literally all about, healthy living, vitamins, etc. Why would I put Hennessy as an advertiser on your podcast? Right. But you got to understand that I have that insight where you can speak to it intelligently. So then by the time you're having a conversation with me and my team, we're like, saying, you know what? McDonald's is not a good fit for your podcast. Hennessy is not a good fit for your podcast, but we can get you Walmart. Yeah. We can get you Nissan. We can get you Toyota because you know your audience so well. And then we also, by looking at the insights that you're providing us, we can actually make sure it makes sense.
Gotcha. Yo, shouts out to Jessica Hurley. She'll be a podcast summit too.
Oh, I know. I love Jess.
She's in the chat right now. She said that y'all represent
a
show
Jess.
for her.
Right.
So you're representing the show with Jess?
Yes. I love Jess. Jess, what's up?
Tell us about the show. That's my
Jess
dog.
has a lot of shows, and Jess works hard, man. She works really hard, and she knows the space. And what I appreciate about Jess is not. She doesn't come and say, hey, look, I need to make money for these podcasts. She says, look, we're building it. How can we make it better? Mm-hmm. So she's really invested into the space. So I'm a big Jess Hurley fan, and she brings us a lot of good podcasts, a lot of good podcasters. More to the story about Roxy Diaz. She's producing it, and that's launching in August. We're very excited about that.
Roxy from 106 in Park?
Correct. She's more than 106 in Park.
I know, but
she's built a brand, so yes, for sure. Her, yes, okay. She started 106 in Park, yes. Oh, but Jessica Hurley's producing a podcast.
Oh, word. Come on, Jess, go crazy. I see you. Okay. Yep. So how does this conversation happen? So Jessica is connected with Roxy. They have an idea for this show. Come to you, say, hey, Gary, we got this show. What are your thoughts?
This is the concept. This is the concept. And this conversation has been happening for the last 6 to 8 months. Here's the concept. This is what we're creating. We're getting ready to take it off. What are your thoughts on it? This is different. This is unique. More to the story. Let's do it. Let's go ahead and make it happen. And then once they're creating this, so now what we're able to do is before it launches, we've actually been pitching it. We actually we're getting a lot of inquiries about the podcast just because of who she is or whatnot.
So brand deals before they even know how well.
For sure. But the reason is though, and the reason is why we're invested in it, because Roxy's not doing it just to say she's creating a podcast. She has a brand that she has to protect, right? Her brand name is valuable. Mm-hmm. So for her she's not just creating a podcast to say have a podcast, but that podcast also is going to be an extension of what she's already doing and everything from movies to TV shows, etc. Yeah. So she understands the value of creating content, right? And then she also have a large following on social media. She's going to leverage her social media channels to ensuring that she's getting the right, to get the audience to listen to her podcast. Additionally, she's inviting like other celebrities to be part of her podcast. That's also going to help her promote it. Mm-hmm. So she's taking it very seriously. So we understand that. So through conversations we've had with her, she's investing in it. She's paying it. She's doing it all on her own without a big network to go ahead and say, hey, here's a check to go ahead and do it. Got it. Right? So we get behind those type of people because they understand the value of creating quality content.
Solid. So you're willing to grow with people.
Absolutely. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. But again, we need to understand, we need to ensure that you're serious about the content that you're creating, the quality of the content that you're creating. That's very important to us.
Got it.
Which is why the statement I made earlier, it's not that we don't need any more sort of current event type podcasts, is that we just need you to create quality shit. We need quality content. Yeah. Shout out to Kenny Burns, he's in Atlanta. Kenny's the culture man. He's been creating content. He's been on radio. He's been on TV. He knows what he's doing. So yes, I want to get behind Kenny. Yes, I want to support Kenny for what he's doing.
So you represent his show now? His show as well? Kenny Burns show?
TKBS? Yeah, Kenny's my starting point guard. Shout out to Kenny Burns, the culture man. That's my guy. Yes, 100%. We represent Kenny Burns.
Kenny Burns, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we absolutely represent Kenny Burns. We're doing a lot of work with Baller Alert also. Shouts to Robin. They have a great podcast that has tremendous numbers. Jalen Rose is coming back. He's coming back with his podcast. Yeah, man, we're working for a lot of talent.
Man,
and we just take pride in what it is that we're doing, right? Because it's David versus Goliath. We're literally punching above a weight class, right? And we're knocking people out, right? Right? You know what I'm saying? So on our end is we want to work with T1 talent, and I want to be very clear. You don't have to be a celebrity for us to work with you. That's not the case at all. We simply just want you to be serious about the quality of the content that you're creating.
Got it. All right, so as we know we need to have a good show.
Right.
But I still want to give some step-by-step answers for someone who has maybe been doing it 100 episodes, 50 episodes. They've been consistent. They have good
Someone said turn my mic up.
content. Is mic low? Is mic low?
Closer. Is this better?
Yeah, you're good. It don't got to be on that.
Right there?
We can't turn this up a little bit? All right, so the creator
Right.
who has something amazing,
Right.
what are they doing wrong that they haven't made any money?
Do they have an audience though?
Let's say, for instance, Mild, it's growing.
Sure. But who are they talking to? Are they having conversations with Pod Media? Are they talking to other network? Like you gotta, again,
So they should be looking for a network.
Precisely. Not a network, but they should be looking for an agency that can help them take it to the next level, right? Because the thing is, if you're a content creator, you're focused on creating content, you still need the business folks, i.e. a company like ours, to help you, to push you, right? So for example, right? Look at us as like the CAA or WME for podcasting.
I don't know what that means.
WME is an agency. They represent athletes.
Okay.
Right? CAA, they represent athletes, celebrities, etc. You need an agent to actually go out there and push you. That's what we do, right? Like we actually out there promoting, say, hey, look, you need to work. You're looking for entrepreneurs. You need to advertise on Social Proof. We're actively pushing for the podcasters that we represent. So you need somebody to represent you that's speaking to the brands so you can get the advertisers. So therefore, if you're creating the content, yes, your content is great. You have an audience, but now someone needs to sell you or you need to sell yourself.
For sure.
So, and a lot of content creators, unfortunately, don't have access to the advertisers. And the advertisers are also looking for, they don't want to work with 1,000 podcasters. They want to go to one place and access 1,000 podcasters, right? So then when you're looking to reach to a PepsiCo or Coca-Cola or McDonald's, etc., it's too fragmented. That can't just, your podcast, that's not enough for them. They're looking for reach and scale. Which is why advertisers leverage us, because we have the reach and scale. Their strength in numbers. You might have 200,000 followers. She might have 10,000 followers. I might have 50,000, listeners. So when we put all those numbers together, it makes sense for the advertisers to work with us as a company, because now we're giving them access to all different podcasters that have different set of audiences.
So let's say I got a group of friends. We all have a podcast. I got a podcast. Kay, Reese, they all have one. And together we might have a certain number.
Correct.
We can come to you and say, hey, can you work with this collective?
Precisely. Because that's what advertisers do. They work with us because we're a collective, right? But just understand the rates are going to be different for everybody.
Yeah.
However, we're gonna go out there and push you. We're gonna go out there and push your podcast to ensure that we can get your advertisers.
Let me ask you, this is like a supply and demand question. Do you have more podcasts and advertising money, or do you have more advertising money than you can actually spend on the podcast?
We actually have more advertising money than we have podcasts.
Really?
The reason being is the fact that, again, I want to keep saying this, man, consistency. Because everyone is expecting to be the next Joe Rogan to get a multi-million-dollar deal from a Spotify, et cetera. That's not how it works. You have to be consistent. So on our end, when advertisers are coming to us and saying, look, we're looking for esports content, gaming content, or we're looking for relationship content, whatever, health and wellness. If you're not consistent, you're missing out. You're missing out on those flow of dollars. And then now we got to go back and say, oh, well, this podcast is not necessarily all about health and wellness, but they do speak to an audience that's interested in health and wellness. So we got to tweak it and sell it a little bit different, But yeah, man, we have more advertising. We actually have podcasts because everyone that's creating podcasts as saturated, as oversaturated that everyone thinks the podcast space is. Not everyone is consistent, and not everyone actually have a consistent audience that they can actually build on. So on our end, we almost got to keep going back to the same 200 podcasters that's consistent.
So there needs to be more podcasts.
There needs to be more. There needs to be more podcasts. There needs to be more quality podcasts that's consistent.
Yeah,
we need that. Absolutely need that. Right. So again, there's over 1 million YouTube channels. So YouTube's not going anywhere. So it's the same thing with the podcast space. Yeah. It's not going anywhere. So we need more podcasters, especially from our community, to actually be more serious about the content that they're creating versus thinking this is going to be a money grab and they're going to be celebrities overnight. And that's not how it works.
Bruh, oh, I'm so glad we're having this conversation. Where you get the money from? Where are you finding these people or these companies that say, yo, we got this budget, let me give it to you, distribute it?
So that's the other side of the coin.
Yes.
We are at IAB upfronts. We are at the ANA. We're at the ANA Media Day.
What are those?
Those ANAs is an organization that actually is an advertising association of national advertisers. It's a collective of all the big advertisers. They're part of this. They're part of the ANA, right? The IAB, which is the Advertising Bureau, which is like the governing body for advertising. So they do a podcast up front. There's Ken Lyons, which is taking place next week in the south of France.
Yes. Okay. So
we'll be there. Right. One second. We'll go to Ken Lyons in a second. But those are all the places that we're at the advertising agencies day in and day out doing lunch and learns, buying lunches, pitching our product, pitching our podcasters. We're constantly doing that. So that's basically how we actually go out and making sure that like the advertisers and the big brands know about us. It's all about relationships.
Yeah. I'm looking this up, okay?
Go ahead.
Ken Lyons, Ken?
CANNES. It's Con.
Oh.
It's Con Lyons. CANNES.
NNES.
Ken Lyons, yes. It's the biggest advertising conference in the world.
Who's going to be there?
Every single brand you can think of. Every single large advertiser you can think of. Every single agency is there. And we're not talking about your average, your day-to-day person. This is all the CMOs, the CTOs, the CXOs, the CEOs. They're all present. And this is where we actually meet and we build our relationships with our current partners and future partners. You have to be present. So those are the places that you need to be at. So it's not just saying, hey, you're creating a podcast and all of a sudden you think McDonald's is going to knock at your door and get your ad deals. You have to be in those places to actually meet the CMO of McDonald's, to meet the SVP of marketing, to meet all of those folks, the agency folks, actually work on those brands in order for you to actually in order for them to partner with you.
Okay, so
so read it out loud. I mean, you Google it now.
Yeah, I'm on here now.
Yep.
Where creativity drives progress. Find a perfect path for you and join us at Cane's the 17th through the 21st of June. Okay. Yep. At Ken Lyons, the advertising and communications industry meets to celebrate the world's best work. Insight from iconic thought leaders, ideas from the world's most innovative companies, and inspiration from every corner of the creative marketing community.
Yep.
Come together. So is this event just for advertising agencies?
It's for everyone. It's for creators. It's for advertising agencies. It's for brands.
Me as a creator, I can go out there and say, yo, I got Podcast Summit coming up. I got this podcast. I'm doing this amazing work in the world.
1,000%.
I would like to create.
Absolutely.
What?
100%. It's the best place. It's literally, this is the Oscars. This is the Grammys of advertising. And if you get a Ken Lyons award, it's equivalent to actually winning an Oscar.
And who gets Ken Lyons awards?
You literally have to submit your work. Like you can literally submit your podcast and say, I created this great podcast to Black entrepreneurs within the Black and brown communities, and you submit your work and you get judged from people from the advertising community.
All right, so here's the thing, and it's the 17th through the 21st.
Yep.
So my anniversary.
Your wedding anniversary?
Yeah, my wedding anniversary, but it's the 14th. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna. Well, I don't know, because we got kids. I'm just gonna make our wedding anniversary amazing.
You should take her to South of
And then
France.
tell her we got kids though.
How many kids do you have?
3.
Gotcha.
You got kids?
I have no kids. No,
That flight.
I don't have no kids.
My kids ain't 9 hours. You said 9 hours?
You're in Atlanta.
But you're saying I need to be there.
It's we're there because again, the flight, hotel prices. It's the South of France. Not every creator can just pick up and just say,
Which means I need to go because I can have these conversations with
for
people.
sure. But I think on our end is it's important to be there for sure. Which is why we've been there for the last 4 years. We're hosting a big dinner for all of our top advertisers, 25 of them, American Express, PepsiCo. I mean, if you come, absolutely, for sure, 100%.
But I would need to hang out with you the whole time. I don't know nobody. I'm a good tag along though.
No, what I'm saying is,
I
think from what I know about you, right, and doing business and chatting with you in the last 3 years, if you're present, you're going to win. So you're gonna tag along. I just got to put you in the right rooms, the right introductions. The next thing you know, you're gonna take over and meet the right people on your own, right? So you just gotta show up. Half the battle is showing up.
I'm about to call my wife. I think I got the perfect gift for anniversary.
South of France. Go to work first, and then go to Monaco and Italy afterwards, or show up for a couple of days and then go, celebrate your anniversary out there.
It's Monday through Friday.
Yeah, and we've been giving you enough ads, man. You can afford it. Like, we've been paying you. You got enough ads. Like you absolutely can do it, man. Just take your wife and your kids, and make it happen. She didn't pick up.
She didn't pick up,
Okay.
but we about to go to South of France because there's so much like we don't know. And I'm thinking that these advertisers, right? Mm-hmm. It's like this. Almost like a gated community.
It is.
Nobody knows where they are, and you can't get in unless you're in the Illuminati or something like that.
The hardest thing to do in my line of work is to get a meeting. Mm-hmm. It's the hardest thing to do is to get a meeting. To get one person to respond to your email and to actually get a meeting to pitch your product. And then that still doesn't mean anything. You still got to get the meeting, sell the product, show value, and then get an RFP, respond to the RFP accordingly.
What's an RFP?
Request for proposal. They're requesting a proposal from you. This is when the brand will say, look, we're looking to reach 18 to 25. We have $100,000 to spend. The flighting dates are from 6/17 to 8/20. What shows do you have for me? What do you have for me? Show me what can you make happen for me based on the objective and the goals that I have, the audience that I'm looking to reach. Give me a plan. And then we respond to it with a media plan. We'll say, well, we have social proof. We have Gary's show. We have, Drink Champs, et cetera. And then we respond with the type of podcast that we have that's going to make sense for the most sense for the business.
And they're sponsoring not just podcasts, but everything.
That might be a campaign. The campaign might be out of home, TV, everything. But they're coming to us.
Cane Lions,
Ken Lions is okay. Ken Lions is everything. Ken Lions is advertising. The entire advertising ecosystem. They're all in Ken Lions. TV, out of home, AI, Web3, podcasts, social media influencer, everything. Everyone's there.
They're there to create people. They're there to meet people they can give money to get exposure for their companies.
Correct. They're there to meet. Bro. They're there to meet, to know what's next in the advertising industry. All of the decision makers, all the C-suite executives, they're all present in Ken Lions. It's important. It takes place every year, the same time every year.
Okay.
So, talk to your wife, man. You have to be there. I'm telling you.
First off, I wear the pants in my house, and I ain't got to ask nobody. First off, let's not act like. I want to see what she's gonna say. I just want to see what she. Okay.
Right.
So, first off, this is amazing. So you'll be at Podcast Summit.
I'll be at Podcast Summit for sure.
We are going to have
question for you. So what exactly are you looking like? What would you like me to deliver at Podcast Summit? I'm curious to know what.
Here's what I would really, really love to do. Mm-hmm. Information is one thing.
Right.
But I want to create an opportunity where creators can actually come get some sort of deal. Is there somewhere where we can create an opportunity where we can put together their, getting them prepared to pitch, or getting them some list of people, or I don't know. I want to provide a resource.
So I think what's missing and allow me to sort of to not criticize, but to sort of like provide additional insights. I think what you need, I think the value that I can bring you is to bring someone from the brand side that actually does buy media, that buys sponsorships.
Yes.
And then they can actually hear it directly from the source. Because it's one thing for me to say it. I eat and breathe that world every day. I got to speak with the the CMOs, the media buyers, media directors, et cetera, on a day-to-day basis. But I think what's more important is for them to hear from the brand directly what they're looking for. I think it would be misleading to tell content creators, come to Podcast Summit and then you guys can expect some type of deal. I don't think that's fair, because that's not how brands work and operate. They're not going to come and say, look, you have 30 content creators here. I'm going to give you 50,000. I'm going to give you 100,000. I'm going to give you $1 million. That's not how it works, because they have to evaluate it, make sure it makes sense,
Let me ask this question, not to cut you off, but to cut you off.
Right.
Let's say, for instance, there is a content creator out here in this world that has an amazing concept, an amazing show, and they have an audience.
Right.
And they're saying, I need to meet Gary because I want to show Gary what I have.
Right.
You would take that conversation seriously, yes?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
For sure. That's
Absolutely.
all I'm asking. All I'm asking is if there's somebody that has emotion.
That's the reason why I'm even interested in actually attending to speak, right? Because I want to meet more content creators that's actually really serious about the type of content that they're creating.
Yes.
Absolutely, without a doubt. But I think what I'm saying is the additional value that can be provided at your summit is that you can actually get an advertiser to say, this is what we're looking for. Don't hear from me, because I can tell you guys all day what I hear from them, but hear it directly from the source, from the horse's mouth. This is what we're looking for from content creators in order for us to partner with you. So I think that's the additional value that I can bring, is if I can get it's July 4th weekend, so it's a bit tough, but if I can certainly get one of my advertisers to actually come out and speak, or even an agency person that can be present, more of that, so that they can actually hear it directly and just hear it. That, look, this shit is not easy. Like, this is what they're looking for. This is the challenge that you have, because they have to sell products. Yeah. And if they're going to leverage you to sell products, just make sure that the platform that you have is actually official, it's consistent, and it's quality work.
Gotcha. Somebody just asked how large of an audience and what's the minimum threshold, and what I gather from you was 5,000
listeners. We need 5,000 listeners, whether it's monthly or weekly, to start. We need
5,000.
5,000 to start, yeah. That let us know you're very serious and you've been creating content and people actually care about what you have to say. 1,000 is cool. We can start building it from there, but 5,000 let us know that it's been consistent enough and you've created enough quality content that people keep coming back and listening to what you have to say.
And you have more advertisers than podcasts, meaning if I have 5,000 followers or I get 10,000 downloads a month or whatever, I come to you. If you like it, you can start implementing.
We have the top advertiser in the country as our clients. That's always looking for quality content. That's always looking to reach. That's always looking to tap into the hard to reach multicultural audience that has a $3.1 trillion buying power. They're looking for that audience for sure. Therefore, we're always looking for a place where we can actually place those ads. For sure, without a doubt. And then the flighting of the campaigns, it fluctuates. So at the end of the day, if your content is evergreen all throughout the year, we're not saying you have to create content 52 weeks out of the year, but if you're creating content 30 to 40 weeks out of the year, we can always tap into your show as a platform to actually deliver ads to you.
I like it. Yo, listen, first off, y'all gonna have to meet Gary at Podcast Summit. Comment the word summit. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Instagram right now, comment the word summit. I'm going to send a very special discounted gift to your DM.
What's the fee? What's the cost to attend Podcast Summit?
$297.
Okay.
And plus, when they comment the word summit, it sends them a discount code.
Got it. Dope. I like that.
For 2 days. It's like 2 whole days.
Yeah. By the way, man, I just want to give you a shout out, man. I don't think you get your flowers. I think you're doing great work. I think you're doing great work in the podcast space, and you've certainly been very consistent in creating podcasts. And of course, you have a big. I don't know if you guys know, this guy has a has a huge studio here in Atlanta, multiple rooms. So that's great work, man. So it's good to see that the dollars we've been giving you has certainly been reinvested back into the work.
I've definitely been putting the money to work, man.
Good.
Nah, this is absolutely incredible, bro. And I don't think people get this type of conversation because they don't know how it works or what to do. We're just content creators. I'm asked this question.
Okay.
Who are some of your favorite people to work with?
My favorite people to work with are the people that take this seriously.
Or your content creators. Because you was like, yo, you love entrepreneurship.
I love entrepreneurship.
Some of your favorite entrepreneurs.
So Kenny Burns, for sure, without a doubt. I'm always gonna give him his flowers because he gets it. He comes from the radio. He understands media. He understands the value of his brand, what he's creating. Kenny Burns, without a doubt. My team likes working with you for sure. Yes. You're up there, and EYL, those guys, Rashad and Troy, AB, Abdullah, they know what they're doing, right? So content creators, I understand the value of their product and the value of the audience that they cater to makes our job easier. Yeah, and that's all we need. Because if I'm out there pitching you to get dollars, make my job easier. Understand that. Look. Creating don't miss weeks. We've had podcasters go missing. Like they're not we're like, dude, we literally just give you a $30,000, $40,000 deal, and then you're literally gonna miss 3 weeks of a campaign, and this campaign ends next week. So therefore, there's no space for us to make that happen. So what are you doing, right? So people, just podcasters, content creators wake up. They say, "To the sky is purple. The sky is purple." That's how they see it. That's how they see it. I understand that. But there's also a business side to it, and you have obligations, and we have obligations to our brand partners that we have to deliver results, right? So then if you're taking weeks off and you're not letting us know, then therefore now we have to go back with eggs in our face to tell our advertiser, hey, look, this podcast, your ad did not run this week. And they're saying, why did your ad not run this week? And then we have to make up an excuse, and we have to explain that to why that happened. So therefore, we cut podcasters off all the time because we need you, but we don't need you. Because there's a lot of podcasters creating content. So therefore, we want us to be as professional as possible, right? We're not perfect, and we don't expect you to be perfect, but let's at least keep the lines of communication open so we can make things happen.
Hey, listen, I want you to put it in the chat real quick. If you ever get a chance to work with Gary, you're going to make sure if he gives you some bread, if he brings you an advertiser, you're going to fulfill it. And
you have to, man. It's very important. Also, another thing I want to talk about, which is very important too, which is about when podcasters are coming into this space, just want to create podcasts, et cetera, create content to talk in the living room. That's all good and dandy. But I want you to also understand the tech side of it. A lot of advertisers are asking for programmatic ads, but a lot of the hosting platforms are not always compatible with
explain programmatic
ads. Programmatic ads is there's host read ads where you can actually go ahead and you read the ad within your podcast. That's embedded within, that's part of your content. Correct. But programmatic ads can be dynamically inserted ads that can just be dropped into your podcast and your podcast. But with programmatic, you can also sell some of your back inventory. So it's important. That could be incremental dollars. Won't be a lot, but it still could be incremental dollars that you can profit from. So we want podcasters to understand that sort of the hosting platform that they're using. So making sure that they're up to date, whether that's Art19, Megaphone, Bro Sprout, Spreaker, please understand sort of, don't just say you just want to create content to get YouTube clips to go viral. Understand the back end of it. Also, actually, your podcast, the foundation that you're creating, to understand like which podcast hosting platform you can use. So that way you can make sure that you're available for all types of advertising and not just embedded ads.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that's important too.
Woo, man, Gary, you've given content creators hope that there's money somewhere. I mean, we're honoring the craft and doing our best to create a quality product. Right. But some people get so nervous, man. They're like, podcasting is oversaturated. There's no money in it. But you're saying none of that's
there
true.
Is, man. You just have to be consistent. It's also, too, is like, again, so if you're reading a space, read the room. And every single person has all current events and gossip podcasts. What else can you talk about? Yes. What's going to make you stand out? Right? It's, if you're a guy, you're walking into a room and there's and there's a lot of beautiful women. What's gonna make you stand out? What energy? What is refreshing about you? What is refreshing about the content that you're creating that would make an audience, people listen to you? Mm-hmm. That's very important. Which is why I like the word quality. Quality is extremely important. What type of content are you creating to make someone keep coming back and listen to you week in and week out? Or it's extremely important.
Do you have a specific genre that you work with most, or that you prefer to work with?
I really like financial literacy. I think financial literacy is not only important for a community, but it's also very important because a lot of brands are seeing value in it as to how they can educate the audience, and then based on the content that they're creating, they can say, let me tap into this audience because they're looking to be well informed, how to spend their money properly. Yeah, I personally enjoy that. I'm an entrepreneur, so for me, that's I'm a nerd for I'm a nerd for that type of content. But health and wellness, of course, is very important. But man, women hosted content like moms that can talk about the balance of being a wife, being a mom, and being a CEO and being the boss. I call it the CHO, Chief Household Officer. Mm-hmm. That content is valuable. Mom content is very important for sure. We just got to deal with Procter & Gamble, with Pampers, with new moms, and that's going to be a year activation that we have. But that's extremely important for sure.
Yeah, my wife be on all mom stuff, bro. I'm about to just send her a note real quick.
Has she been on your podcast?
Huh?
Has your wife been on your podcast?
No. No.
Why not?
Because then you'll find out all the terrible things about me. Hey, Dre, I'm here with Gary, and he said you need to start your mom podcast because it's very valuable content that advertisers will
for
pay
sure.
for.
Because listen, as an entrepreneur, I'm always looking for nuggets to be a better entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. Moms are always looking to hear from other moms because they can relate to that, because they understand the stress it takes to raise, to be a good wife, to be a good mom, and actually go to your job and perform. So women are always looking for nuggets from other women, or just a safe space that they can actually hear what's happening, to understand that other people are going through what they're going through, what they're experiencing, right? So that's so that audience is very valuable, but also too, that audience buys. Yeah. Do you know how many times your wife probably hides her Amazon purchases from you?
Yo, she bold. She don't even hide it, and she don't even pick it up. She lets it pile up at the front door.
See? So
the boxes at the front door are as tall as my 3-year-old.
I believe it.
It's crazy.
I believe it, but you know why she's making those decisions? Because of the things she feels like the household needs.
No, because the card is on file. she's
that too.
Because the card is on
that
file.
too, but it's important because she's making those decisions. So she's buying products.
For sure.
Brands want that. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for the household decision maker that's actually going to go out and buy the product and tell their husband, look, honey, I heard this ad. I saw this product. We need this in our house. And you're going to look at her like, no, do we really need it? And then she's going to make a case for it because she wants it. And then so that type of content, so you start thinking with that mindset and you're creating that type of content, you start tapping into that audience. That's what advertisers are looking for.
All right, we about to build that joint out. Here's the thing. I wouldn't mind it so much.
You have the studio. You have the space for it. I mean.
Yeah, I'm just saying I wouldn't mind it so much if she actually took the stuff out the box and bro, I'm telling you, come to my house, look to the right, it's box. And I'm like, all right, you bought it.
Right.
In the moment.
That certainly sounds like something you guys have, the Shen's house have got to figure out. I'm just speaking solely to the fact that brands want to tap into that audience.
For sure.
They want more people like your wife. That's what they're looking for.
For sure. Yeah. Bro, we about to promote this show. Yo, first off, Andre, don't be liking my text and not calling me back. That's the first thing.
That's your wife. Yeah,
I'm about to, because I want to have this conversation with you. Okay?
For sure.
Because she actually watches a lot of mom content.
Hello.
Hey, Dre, you're live on the Social Proof Podcast.
Hi, Daddy.
Hey, baby. Hey, you need to start a mom podcast. Gary said there's money in it. You with it? Are you with it?
Sure. Can I just do audio and not visual?
Can she do
Or it
audio?
has to be visual and
That's
audio.
fine too. That's fine.
He said yes, it could be audio, but it doesn't make sense.
It's necessary. Okay, which is another nugget. Like you certainly want to have multiple channels. You want to have audio. You want to have audio. You want to have visual. You also want to have social. So it's important because then we can certainly upsell that. if your numbers are not showing on audio, but your numbers are showing visual, that still helps you to get a higher rate.
Guys,
Right? So
we'll
she's
just make sure
certainly-
it looks good, honey. Okay.
Yeah. Listen, get her the Glim Squad, you know, hair and makeup. You have the budgets, man. David, you're out here. You know, you're out here,
He said you
man.
need a glam squad.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I came up with the perfect anniversary trip for us.
To the podcast.
No, come on, be a little more positive, honey. Okay.
Where are we going?
I want to take you to the south of France.
Okay.
The only, but we'll actually do like anniversary husband and wife stuff at night though, because it's a conference out there. That'll be sponsorships. But we're gonna be out there though.
We're going south of France.
We're gonna go to south of France on
I'm with it.
the 16th. So of June in a week and a half.
Of June.
Yeah. The event,
Oh, wow.
the sponsors are there.
Huh?
The sponsors are there, and those are the sponsors that we need to meet.
All right.
You want to
I'm
build
with
that
it.
dream home, don't you?
For sure. I'm just looking.
I was thinking about you when I made this
this.
decision. Okay. All right, we're gonna look at flights. We're gonna look at flights when we get home.
All right.
I want an amazing dinner tonight. Okay.
I got you. I'm gonna make some lamb chops and lobster tails. For sure.
Come on with it, boo.
I like
Let's
that.
get it.
Oh, it sounds good.
All right, love you, honey.
Sounds really good.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
We out there, bro.
Love that. There you go. But
It's going down.
You got to book the flights now, though. You got to book an Airbnb. There's no hotels available, so you got to get an Airbnb.
Word.
And then you want to make sure that you're staying on the Croisette, which is like the strip. We want to be close to it because that's where all the action is. I'm happy to help you, man. Actually, put you in touch with my executive assistant. She's
You're happy to help me with the flight, the cost? Or?
no. I never said that. I never said that.
You said you'd be
I
happy
never
to
said
help me.
that. I'm
Okay.
happy to help you to make sure that you understand where you can stay, because you might end up in the boonies.
Okay.
It's equivalent to saying you're coming to Atlanta, but you're all the way out. You know, I don't know Atlanta that well, but you're like all the way in the boonies. You don't want that.
What airport? Is it a straight flight?
You're flying to Nice.
What's the airport code? You know?
Nice. It's called Nice. I speak French, so it's Nice.
N-I-C-E?
Nice, France. Yeah, Nice. And then from Nice, it's about I believe a 25-minute drive to Cannes.
Okay.
And then from there, it's
And it starts on Monday the 17th.
it really starts on Sunday, but this Monday is really when it starts with conferences, brands and advertisers, and you basically just have to. It's a hustle because everybody's there, right? So understand that as a vendor, I'm there, but trying to sell audio and podcast and influencer and live podcast activations, experiential. But there's tech companies, there's tech vendors, there's publishers, there's Meta, there's Twitter, there's TikTok, Snapchat. They're all there. Everyone is there, for sure. Everyone is there. So it's.
How you fly? Regular or
I'm flying first class, man.
Delta One?
Delta One. I'm booked up already. It's expensive. I'm telling you. It's your anniversary.
Take a guess how much this flight is.
It's $25,000. Isn't it? Delta One.
Well, I have different days. Mine's is 17.
1,000. Yeah. Yeah. Business class. Fly coach.
But I got
man.
some 15s in here. Hold
Yeah.
on.
Fly coach, man.
Okay, what's it? I don't know about Coach. Come on, man.
Okay.
I got a reputation uphold.
I got you.
Premium. What's the? Okay, premium. Maybe I could do premium select and maybe
Sure.
not Delta One.
Yeah, or
Premium
maybe you
select.
can also fly into France. You fly into Paris, to Charles de Gaulle, which is the main airport in Paris, and then from there you get an EasyJet, and the EasyJet can get you into Nice too. There's ways. You can get creative with it.
Oh, so Nice is harder to fly into.
Nice is current for that given week. Nice is certainly going to be very extremely expensive, but you can also fly into Paris. Paris
Far is
also
there? But I gotta take another jet.
you gotta get in a flight over. Yeah, it's a layover. Listen, I'm just trying to help you get creative, man. Listen, if you wanna, I'm trying to help you out.
I got money, Gary. I could do this.
I know you do. We don't pay your invoices on time, but we certainly make sure we always pay you. It's a fact, man.
Don't-
Advertisers pay us late, so we pay you late.
I'm cool with it.
Yeah, but we make sure you get compensated. That's what matters for sure.
It's a $35,000 situation. Hold on, do I
By the way,
gotta
you still-
get a ticket? Do I gotta get a ticket to go to the event?
Nah, it's open. It's open format. There's things, there's conferences, there's panels happening all throughout the days. But you also need to make sure.
I need to train to Paris. Let me fly. Where's the train to Paris? Ooh, because I can act like I'm being romantic.
No, you can, man. Like, listen, but also you
I'm
still
going,
have to.
bro.
You also have to keep in mind, right? You still have to take care of your wife. You still got to take her to dinner, and places, and while you're in the south of France.
What day is the dinner that you put on?
It's on Tuesday.
What time?
It's at 7:00.
7:00.
But that's with advertisers. So I mean, you want to come in there and work. I don't think it's a good place to bring your wife to, because that dinner specific. I mean, you can see her afterwards. The dinner's from 7 to 9:30, and people eat late in Europe. But you certainly want to make sure that you come in there where you can actually have conversations. And it's Ad Week, Ad Age, Ad Week, all the major publications. I'll be out there. So that
let me work on that. Actually, and I go to church on Tuesdays, and I actually have a church out there, so I might have to go to church on Tuesday. But I'm coming after. I'm in there. Yeah, I'm in there, man. Gary, thank you, man.
Nah, for sure, bro.
This is very
Absolutely.
eye-opening. Got me more excited about Podcast Summit, especially. Hopefully, we can get an advertiser there, so we can really have real conversations with people who can fund our dream, man. So thank you so much, my brother.
Nah,
I
for sure,
appreciate it.
absolutely. Again, I certainly want to leave with a good nugget. Is that what's important is if you're creating a podcast, know what you're creating, and know what you're creating it for. And once you have those two steps locked down, that's going to get you excited to keep creating the content. And then that's going to allow you to be consistent. And then that's also going to allow the advertisers to come in and make sure you're getting paid for what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because again, everybody's doing it, right? But not everybody's doing it the right way. And if you're stepping into the space, just be serious about it.
Yeah.
Within 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes, within 2 minutes, I can tell if somebody's wasting my time if they're serious about creating podcasts.
Yeah, for sure.
So, which is why I have over 1,000 unread text messages, because don't waste my time. Do not waste my time.
And I have a proposition for you.
Okay, let's hear it.
So I got a couple sponsors for podcasts. Is it too late to get some more sponsors for Podcast Summit?
I would say it's never too late, because you can always knock on doors and get some dollars. But it's certainly last minute.
Got it.
You certainly want to plan this out. You certainly want to plan 6 to 8 months out.
Okay.
Because you want to,
Here's my proposition. I got a proposition for you.
Let's hear it.
My proposition is next year Podcast Summit, because we're all in the podcasting space.
Right.
We need to collaborate and create just have some sort we need to get more sponsors that can get direct access to the creators
Right.
that are going to be the ones that they work with.
Man, you know what I think? I think you should actually create a podcast pitch concept. Get people to come in and pitch your podcast, and we get an advertiser to come in and pay for it, and they'll pay for the entire production.
Say it one more time.
So get people to pitch their podcast concept at Podcast Summit.
Okay.
What podcast do you want to create, and why do you want to create it? And they'll pitch it, and they get to win, and whoever wins, an advertiser actually pay for the entire production and sponsor the podcast. That's for next year. No, that's for next year. We're brainstorming right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I'm just saying that should be something that we can create for next year.
Say less.
Somebody has to pitch a podcast concept. You pitch a podcast concept. You get the right judges. I could be a judge, or we get the advertiser to be the judge. We say, okay, this is a great podcast concept because this is unique, this is different, and then you have the authoritative voice to create this podcast content. You have credibility to go ahead and create it, and then you win the pitch concept, right? You win the contest. We pay you $20,000, $30,000, whatever it is, and they pay for the entire production, and you get an advertiser for a year. That's how we can collaborate. That's how I can help. That's how I want to push the medium, and that's how I want to get more. I want to get more people to be excited about creating podcast content.
I might just do that myself, man. I mean, it may not be 30,000, but I get all your.
So versus paying
equipment,
$15,000 for the flight to Cannes, you can just
But I'm saying so a creator that has an amazing concept, you really need a couple mics, a good camera, good lens, some lights,
Right.
And it might be a $6,000-$7,000 package or something like
For
that.
sure.
And maybe I'll foot that bill.
And exactly, you can get them to create content, and then from there, they can actually go out and they can create the podcast content, and then we get them advertiser, make that happen.
Say less. Listen, y'all, podcastsummit.com, July 4th and 5th, 2024 this year, the most incredible blend of content creation and entrepreneurship,
sure.
Gary. This is not just content creation. We are teaching people how to use content to build a business model or use your podcast to grow your current business.
For sure.
So it is the only, I believe, it's the only event like it, man. If I'm being honest.
Nah,
with you.
there isn't. There isn't. There's podcast movement, but that doesn't necessarily always speak to our community. So I think what you have is actually good and it's quite unique.
Thank you, my brother.
So yeah, it's very important. So it's good. It's exciting to see it, and we want more people that's serious about the business of creating content, but also understanding the business of the content ideas and what they're creating, so they actually understand the numbers and the logistics and everything that's behind it, so that actually they understand, look, it's not easy work, but if I'm serious about the idea that I have, let me actually go out and do it.
Absolutely.
So it's important. Yeah.
Man, listen, get your tickets. We are almost sold out. I think we're cutting off vendors by this Friday. We're almost sold out of All-Star tickets, so you only have General and All-Star to choose from, depending on when you're watching this. But podcastsummit.com, if you're on Instagram right now, comment the word summit. Get your ticket today. I promise you we will sell out. We had 750 people in Miami last year. This year we'll have 1,500 people in Atlanta, 2 days. It is going to be an incredible experience. Oh, also just got the email from Urban One, who is the parent company to Radio One.
Right.
And we're doing a collab. They wanted to be a part too, so they'll be pushing it on their platforms, man. So that's I had no advertisers last year, so we got 4 really good advertisers.
Do you have sponsors now? You have sponsors for this year?
We got a sponsor from Shure microphones. So they actually sent us like 40 microphones.
That's amazing. So are you giving free microphones to content creators?
Well, we have 20 booths, right?
Okay.
Where we'll have 2 microphones on each, where people can record their podcast live, and Ecamm is a sponsor as well.
Okay.
So they can log into their YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and stream it all at the same time, live from the podcast summit. So yes, but after the conference, I'll be giving away microphones.
That's incredible. That's dope.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
And I got to get 20 computers like iMac Studios. And what am I going to do with 20 iMac Studios? I'll probably be giving those away too.
That's amazing.
Yes,
dope.
Sir.
Dope.
It's happening. Gary, appreciate you, my brother.
My man.
Thank you so much. And lastly, where do you see yourself and your company in the next 5 years? Because I want to be able to watch this interview and listen to this answer and say, yo, Gary said he was going to do that 5 years ago, and look what happened.
So we're approaching 6 years within the next month. We'll be in business for 6 years. I think for me, as an entrepreneur, is that I love the podcast space. I love the work. It's fun. It's purposeful. But at the end of the day, man, I want to create something that can be sold. So I certainly would like to get acquired. So at the end of the day, it's like, what we're doing right now, how can we be part of a larger entity so we can certainly ensure that we can scale. If we get an influx of cash, whether that's from a VC or investors, or we get acquired by a larger company, and how can we take that and create a bigger, sort of creator economy and get more people paid.
Love it.
So at the end of the day, yeah, we certainly want to get acquired. Certainly within the next 5 years. I'm very bullish. I'm very aggressive. So certainly within the next 18 or 24 months, certainly would like to get acquired. Yeah, 6 years, man. 6 years. The work is fun, but there's, we've launched in 2022. We launched an experiential arm of the business where we create live podcast activations around key cultural moments. So whether that's Super Bowl or Basel, All-Star Weekend, Black History Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, HBCUs, we can have those conversations. We certainly can, man. We certainly can.
Yes, have this conversation.
So for us, we're creating live podcast activations. We're making audio sexy, right? So think of Essence Fest, but a mini Essence Fest around key cultural moments. You go to Super Bowl, there's a former NFL player or a current NFL player that's creating live podcast content. It's sponsored by a brand, and it's not just a branded stage. It's like you get a whole experience. You get to go in certain places, like you get to experience the brand, et cetera, free products, so on and so forth. Boom. All-Star, same thing. We launched Talk of the Yard last year, where we created live podcast activations at various HBCUs during their homecoming season, and Nike was a sponsor, right? So we're making it and then that content that gets created live in person gets the brand benefits from it, because it becomes a custom piece of content that they can sort of deploy at a later date. Not only now you get that in-person engagement, but additionally you also get custom pieces of content that you can behind the scene footage, pictures, videos, etc., that they can sort of really promote and use for other campaigns. So we're expanding, we're expanding and diversifying what it is that we're doing. You know, we don't want to just a podcaster to think, hey, we're just going to create podcast content. I'm going to read an ad and I'm going to get paid. No, let's put you on tour. Yeah. You're a podfluencer.
Yes,
Gary. You know what I'm saying? So you're a podfluencer. Let's get you on tour. Let's get you live activations. So that's what we're doing. So how do we scale that? We do that with capital, which is why for us, like, we're very bullish in making sure that we can potentially get acquired. Or, you know, we bootstrapped this for the last 6 years. You know, grew it to what it is now, to an 8-figure business. And we want more, man. So in order for that to happen, we can't do it alone. So we actually got to get more capital and get like a bigger company to be part of what we're doing.
Man, I love it. All right, we about to ut these cameras off because we got a lot to talk about. I'm going on tour, y'all. Listen, man, Gary, thank you so much, my brother. Man. How can people get in touch with you?
Info@poddigitalmedia.com is certainly the best. Info@poddigitalmedia.com. And then our Instagram is Pod Media, so we do get a lot of inquiries on our Instagram pages. And then we also have a LinkedIn. On the LinkedIn, it's Pod Digital Media. Okay. We have an active social media team that responds at least within 24 to 48 hours for sure. If it's yay, nay, or a conversation, you know, they'll certainly reach out. But that's certainly the best way. Or you can add me on LinkedIn. It's Gary Coichy. It's GaryCoichy on LinkedIn.
Cool. Hey, listen, man, Pod Digital Media is here to stay, okay? And I actually have a poster of Bill Simmons on my wall because he sold the Ringer for what, $300 million or something?
He sold it for $300 million, but I'm missing up here, man. Where's my picture? I don't understand.
You ain't taking me on tour yet, bro. So as soon as we get that going, you let me know. Okay.
That's the bartering system. Huh?
Let's do
it. Makes sense.
But I appreciate you, my brother. Listen, y'all, if you are an aspiring or current content creator, make sure you are at Podcast Summit, podcastsummit.com. July 4th and 5th in the beautiful, wonderful, amazing Atlanta, Georgia. 2 full days of podcast education from how to set up your camera, how do you get sponsorships, how do you create a pitch deck, how do you have an engaging conversation, how do you use your podcast to grow your current business, how do you write a book, how do you publish your book, how do you get your podcast on as many platforms as possible, how do you grow your YouTube, how do you start to understand and utilize the Instagram algorithm. How do you shoot skits? How do you shoot a movie? 3 days of pure content creation. And it's going to be amazing. So podcastsummit.com. If you're watching on Instagram right now, comment the word summit. I will send a special gift to your DM right now. If you're watching this on YouTube, again, go to podcastsummit.com. There will be a link below. I will see you at the summit. We out of here. Peace. If you like the video that you just watched, click this one. You're going to like this one, maybe even more. Click it right now.